Welcome back to day number 28 of the Red Letter Challenge. Someone else will take care of that. How many times have we said that? When we hear about problems, sometimes our first response isn't, how can I help? But rather, someone else will help. Today's quotation from Jesus tells us it's not about someone else taking care of anything. God is telling us it's our job to feed the hungry. He's calling his followers to take care of things themselves. That somebody else's problem is not in the vocabulary of Jesus or his followers. The truth is, we all have gifts or talents or possessions that we can offer to the world around us. I love this story from Peter Sagal. When Morgan was a young woman living in New York City, she had trouble finding herself. She was very uncertain of herself, and she had become obsessed with Mother Teresa. For some reason, Morgan thought Mother Teresa was the epitome of what a human being should be. One day, Morgan found out that Mother Teresa was coming to New York, and she found out where she was staying. So Morgan parked on a curb outside the hotel, hoping to get a glimpse of her, when a car pulled up and Mother Teresa got out. Morgan ran up to Mother Teresa and said, "I'm so glad to meet you. The work that you do is so important, and I want to come to Calcutta to work with you." Mother Teresa shook her head and said, "No, you don't do this work because you think it's good. You do this work because you so love the poor people of Calcutta that you can't be away from them. That's when you come and do this work." Morgan realized she had been busted a little bit, in a nice way. Mother Teresa said, "What do you do?" Morgan said, "Nothing important. I work in a theater and help put on plays. What use is that?" Mother Teresa replied, "There are many different kinds of famine in this world. In my country, there is a famine of the body. In this country, there is a famine of the spirit. Stay here and feed your people." All of us have something to offer. The God of the universe, the one who has access to everything, invites us to be a part of a miracle with him. God doesn't need us to participate in his miracles with him, but he wants us to. Today's quote comes from the miraculous story of Jesus feeding 5,000 people with only 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish. The crowds had been with Jesus all day and were hungry. The disciples wanted to send them home to get food when Jesus told them, "You give them something to eat." Can you imagine what they must have been thinking? How are we going to feed them? This man is out of his mind. Jesus was testing their faith. Andy Stanley describes this story well. What do you do when Jesus is actually standing there telling you to do something and you know you can't do it? Apparently, you do what we do. You make excuses and tell him things he already knows. "I'm not smart enough. I'm not educated enough. I'm not resourced enough. Get somebody else." But Jesus says, "Just bring me what you have, and I'll work with that. Bring me your limited education, your lack of experience, along with your fear and insecurity, and watch what I can do." If we or the people in our churches ever get to the place where we are willing to make what we have available to God, amazing things will happen. For whatever reason, God has chosen to work with us in redeeming and restoring this world. He's chosen us to be the people who speak and act on his behalf. God believes that you can make a difference. That's why he's chosen you. 1 Corinthians 3:10 calls us co-workers or co-laborers with God. We have already been called by God to work with him and given tools to grow his kingdom. Don't wait for permission from your pastor or someone else to do what God has put in your heart. God has called you, and he's filled you up with the Holy Spirit to give you everything you need to make a difference in this world. You may feel like you don't have a lot to offer, but I want you to know that the same God that turned a little boy's lunch into food for 5,000 people can do the same for you. God can do a lot with a little. And that was day 28.